Whoa, I am behind here. Ladies and gentlemen, aliens, whatever you identify in this wonderful, beautiful world. Welcome into the Hunter Houston ESG podcast. As always, I am your host, and I'm trying to get my hat straight here, looking at the camera, and I'm looking incorrectly, probably. So, with that said, hello, how are y'all doing today? Let's see if I can fix that horrible camera of mine. I always have a horrible camera. It's horrible. But before we get started, let me give a shout out to the Residence Daryl Show on YouTube. Let me also give a shout out to the PlayStation Ain't Dead podcast, Will Schultz, Sean Powers, LL Smooth, and the Radical One, Reggie Live. So, what am I drinking this morning? It is currently 4:12 in the morning. I have been prolonging the show for a while because obligations with other things going on for some reason because sometimes I'm a clown like that. So I'll be drinking, and note they are not sponsoring me, but I just wanted to give them a shout out anyway because their drink is unbelievably awesome. The Spindrift, as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, I'm doing the what is it? The Michael Myers, yeah, Mike Myers' little thing where he was doing the presentation of the Coke through Rainforest, stuff like that, or Pepsi, and all these other things. Why don't we get a shout out? Tricky, you know, you don't get on your show enough, man. Basically, the show has become the Matt show, and I love Matt. I love you, brother, but you're hardly ever on the show. I mean, I can only send so many things to your show so many times. Shout out Proven Gamers. You can follow them over at well, basically they used to be live on Twitch, but they're currently not live on Twitch because they set up things differently. I keep telling them to use Rumble because Rumble's free and it has tons of different tools you can use for free, and you can set everything up for free using Rumble's actual free tools you should look into, and then stream from Rumble to YouTube, to Twitch, to everywhere else you want to stream from, all live at once, and you can edit it all at Rumble. Shout out to Rumble Tools, shout out to Rumble in general for being a free market of free speech. But yes, Tricky. There's no hate or disrespect toward you guys. It's just hard to do any promotions for you when you don't want to show up on your show. Because then I might as well call it the Matt Show. And shout out to Yield for not, because I guess his computer doesn't work with some of y'all's tools. But I digress. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's get going to the very first thing. And the very first problem is, I said movies first. So let's talk about the big one, or the one that's giving a lot of people issues currently, which is, let's go to the little screen here and find it. Here we go. We're at the screen. And that would be Homer's Odyssey. Or should I say the Odyssey, aka of Homer. Now, the problem with this film is not that Nolan's doing it and has all these different people and no one and everybody's using a English accent or an American accent, which I have a problem with. At least try or pretend to like do a British or what would you perceive as what would be the current lingo or slang. But the fact is, it's like my dad. When no one would say my dad back then, that was something I think the terminology for dad probably wasn't invented maybe in the 1900s. Someone can look me up and check me on that. And the Spindrift tea is good, by the way. If you never tried it, it's definitely worth picking up. And I am not sponsored by them in any form, shape, or way. I'm just wanting to shout out a good product. And if you haven't tried it, it's definitely worth trying. And it's the peach one. They also have the other one I haven't tried. I think there's a lemon one. I do want to try it. But they use good, stuff. So I just want to give them a shout out. They use real fruits, real tea, better taste. So shout out to Spindrift. Now, with Nolan's Odyssey coming out, soon, the problem is it's not that the cast, but I do think the verbiage is incorrect. I do not like the verbiage in it. With, like I said, of just saying my dad's coming, and I would do the trailer, but I'm not going to do the trailer because I don't want to be like hit up on YouTube, so forth, like that. Let's get to this young lady's name right here, okay? Lupina Amanya I can't probably can say it correctly. And she's supposed to be Helen of Troy. Is she a gorgeous woman? Yes. She's a very beautiful woman. Has great features, but is she the most beautiful woman ever? No. In my lifetime, I have lived in numerous places. I've lived in New York. I lived in New Jersey. I've lived in Texas. I've lived in Bayonne. Excuse me, I already said New Jersey. Uh, I lived in Baltimore. I lived in South Carolina. I lived in Alabama. I've been to California. I've been to Arizona. I've lived in Germany for 9 years almost, and I've been to France. I've been to Italy. Been to a couple other European countries. And in my lifetime, ladies and gentlemen, I've only seen three girls that have been super gorgeous, where I wouldn't even think to approach them. That's how beautiful these women were. And would I approach a girl here? Yes. I do not see her as an unapproachable woman at all. I would go up there and talk to her, even though she's super beautiful. I would still go and talk to her. So she is not the most beautiful woman who has ever existed. Now, no, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, so maybe someone else could not approach her. Okay, I see her as approachable. Uh, Zieta, whatever his name is, this girl. I don't know why she's the quote unquote it girl for everything. She's not that attractive. She has. I don't understand the logic behind putting her in everything, other than she's somebody's kid, or she's a nepo baby or something like that, or like, hey, the whole alleged casting couch of Hollywood, and it's like, well, they gotta put her in there, or she knows somebody, or she has her family has dirt on somebody or something like that. But Hollywood has proven time and time again over the last 30 years that it's all nepotism, of like, it's somebody's cousins of a cousins of a cousins of a cousin, or a nephew's former roommate, or whatever. It's not like back in the 80s and 90s where it's like, hey, I saw a beautiful girl at the mall who's really good looking, or I saw a beautiful girl at the grocery store who was too beautiful to be working at a grocery store. Let's put her in a movie. Maybe she can learn how to act. We have too many schools where people are going to acting schools, and just because you pretend like you can act doesn't mean you can act because someone taught you. Because most people who teach acting are failed actors themselves. Those who can't teach. Charlize Theron, uh, she is aging like evil. Like she is once a very beautiful girl, but like over the years, she's like aged like, I don't know if it's a personality. Like eventually, if you might ever hear saw Devil's Advocate with Keanu Reeves and what's his name, Al Pacino, and like there was these really beautiful women in it, but like when they got into certain light or they acted a certain way, you could see the demon come out in them, and like they're like their demonly features. That's the way I think she's becoming. And then you have some really great characters in here, like Robert Patterson's great actor, but he seemed like he's. I mean, this is a horrible photo of him. I mean, this is like, the only, I think basically with Robert Patterson now, it's just member berries of like when he was young and beautiful in Twilight. And I'm sorry, it's like, if you, women will always perceive you as a man, as what you once were. So thank goodness for that, because I was once an attractive, bangable person myself. Now I'm kind of like old and tired, so I'm glad that my wife still sees me as that young and attractive person. I think that's the same thing with Robert Patterson to behold. Tom Holland, I don't know what the thing is with him. I think he was just cheap enough to have him being whatever. And it's like, it's like we need somebody who's short and that can pass for wimpy. You got it with that guy. Um, you know, Matt Damon's Matt Damon. Matt Damon. He's an actor's actor. He's been around forever. He's done a ton of different things, and his name does carry star power, regardless of what you think. So the cast is an all star cast, more or less. But what is the writing going to be? And a lot of people said, some I guess some feminist director slash writer or whatever is seeing the Odyssey through the eyes of a female. See, it's produced by Emma Thomas and Christopher Nolan. And but basically, the person who's seeing this through their eyes is seeing it from a woman's perspective of the story, and Christopher Knowles is bringing it to life. And do I think this movie will make a lot of money? I say it makes over 100 million, easy, because the average American, or just the average people in general in today's society, when you were younger, ladies and gentlemen, you used to think old people were wise or smart. They're not wise or smart. They're as smart as the time of the people that they lived in. So in other words, if the next generation is completely dumb, then basically you would seem like you're a wise man because the previous the next generation is lesser educated than you are. If that makes any sense. All right, let's get out of here and go to something else. But I will finish up that story with saying that the lesser generation is doing a bad job. And when I mean doing a bad job, I was at the grocery store. I was turning in some bottles. The bottles give you $3 a piece. Okay. Now, if I have 13 bottles that give me $3 a piece, okay, I'm gonna give you 5 seconds to do that math. Actually, 10 seconds to do that math. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, if you got 30 from that, then you need to reevaluate your life and learn how to actually calculate stuff in your mind and have quick reactions. Because we are, quote unquote, a meat robot to an extent. So I'm at the grocery store. I'm turning in 13 bottles. The young lady, probably about 18, maybe 19, maybe it could be 20. I don't know. I'm pretty good at guessing ages most of the time. I should work as a carnival as an age guesser. I've said this numerous times, so I always guess correctly most of the time. So I hand all those to her. I count them up for her. She recounts them, and she's like, "Okay, you're getting $30 back." I'm like, "Count it again." Count it, 33. I'm like, "Okay." Then I do simple math for this young lady. I'm like, 10 plus 3. Now, ladies and gentlemen, 10 plus 3. Excuse me, 10 times 3. Not plus, I'm sorry. And I even said this to her. I said 10 times 3. I thought about it for a second. And I was like, it's 30. And then if you had 3 more, and you go 3, 6, 9, that's 3 times 3, technically, yes. And so then you have 39. So she gave me back eventually when she thought about it. And then here's the thing is, never be proud to be ignorant. And she's like, oh, I failed math. That's not something you tell somebody. I failed math. You don't tell anybody that. Now, before people get on here and give me the business, this girl is like has white has snow. So I ain't picking out some lesser or whatever someone wants to be, whatever. Like because someone says, oh, you're just hating on something. No, I'm not hating on anybody. The girl white as snow and being proud to have failed math. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have any children, or if you are a young person listening to this right now, never tell anybody about your shortcomings. Always brag about the things that you've done well in life. Like, look, I've been an excellent lover to many different women. I will brag about that to the day I die. I've had a girl tell me she can't stand me as a human being, but still wants to be with me physically. This is before I married my wife. This is a different woman. That's a brag. That's not even a humble brag. That's a real brag because this girl didn't like me as a human being, but still wanted me to to be a down. So those are types of things you want to brag about. Not oh I failed at math. No, or oh social studies and physics and whatever is not my thing. I saw somebody. I was disappointing in them. They had in their office physics for dummies. Um, Physics is pretty simple, dude. You don't have to be a dummy. I mean, what is it like? If you hold something and it drops to the ground, it's physics. I didn't really look through the book or anything, uh, but still, that's just one of those crazy things. It's like physics is for dummies. Uh, Look, I understand luring. Excuse me, being luring. I can't say it right. I'm acting like a dummy. Uh, Being a lawyer for dummies, or yes, That to me, I think probably works better because all basically it is lawyer talk. Most lawyers don't even really do the work themselves. Just some random paralegal, which is some girl who has a bachelor's degree or doesn't have a bachelor's degree, is the one who does all that stuff. So, but yes, will Homer's Odyssey make money? Yes, I am betting right now that Homer's Odyssey is going to make at least $100 million, if not more. Not because I'm some great smart guy. I'm not. It's just because people are dumb and they will watch anything that has to do with Christopher Nolan, and because all they're going to think about is the Batman trilogy. Because I know right now, Resident Sterile will go and see it because he loves the Batman trilogy. And it's like, oh, they're going to find a way or some mastery to lead back to Batman in the Snyderverse. No, dude, it's not leading back to Batman in the Snyderverse. It's just that dude has won some Oscars. He's gotten some good paychecks, and now he's just making whatever type of art or trolling people however he wants to. Good on him. Now, with that said, I want to move on to video games, but the lives of the movie industry and the lives of the video games, and this is one of the biggest lies that's going on right now. And let's go over here to it. At Metacritic, there's a certain little game that came out, and I watched some videos on this game, and this game is Mixtape. Now, the critics have given it an 86, and some people have given it perfect 10. User score is mixed at 6.3, and overall, all these hundreds and these people of saying what games should be and playable, and you see one of the highest ones for some of these people. The gameplay is non-existent. The writing is cringe. The characters are unlikable. The art style is ununique. Bad vibes. Frame rate gives headaches. But the soundtrack is good. Fun fact: the game gets a 10 out of 10. Is extremely suspicious. It's suspicious because there's so many people on Instagram, so forth and so on. Now, again, I have watched the reviews for it. I have watched people play it on YouTube. Now, I can tell you this. I graduated in 1994. Okay, so I am technically a child of the 90s. I got married in 1999, but I digress. I grew up in the 90s slash 80s, and I can tell you the music is awesome for the game. I mean, if you like that type of music, the music in general is just kind of like a member berry thing. But overall, the game itself, nah, it wasn't like that, homie. It wasn't like that because I was still living in two worlds for a little bit of time, uh, where you're still kind of connected to the youth movement, and then you move forward. So I can tell you this, some of the things, the music is spot on, and I think this is a good review that I went to first about it basically being suspicious. And again, most of the time, critics they just and these are millennial critics who didn't get to experience the '90s the way they wanted to experience the '90s. So they just might just do member berries of what like maybe their parents may have told them of what the '90s were like, or whatever. But I assure you, people writing these things have no idea. Remember, it's like their writing is based off watching the TV show Friends from the '90s, and I will tell you that Friends don't let friends watch Friends because Friends sucks. The only thing good about Friends is that the girl who played Rachel, man, I can't think of her name. A lot of women got that hairstyle, and some women were just banging with that hairstyle. They looked unbelievably beautiful with that hairstyle. So Rachel's hairstyle was a trendsetter, and it made a lot of average women look like eights and nines. If you were a 10, it made you untouchable. It was like you had a shield around you where guys like me couldn't talk to you because you're so beautiful. But yes, I think a lot of this was based off of Friends and basically nostalgia berry for people who wanted to live a certain fantasy because in the '90s everything worked like you understand you had the best of metal. This is when Pantera was coming into their own. This is when you had grunge at its highest with Soundgarden, Nirvana, STP. And then, like, toward like mid 90s, started having new metal come in. So you had Korn, Limp Bizkit, and not only that, but it was the height of R&B. It was the height of hip hop slash rap. You know, basically once the '90s ended, and I hate to say this, but everything that was worth like the '90s was the last golden years when it came to music, when it came to art, when it came to movies. So, member berries is one hell of a damn drug. And I assure you, I'm not a hater. I'm not sitting here trying to hate for the sake of hating on this game. I would say, hey, when the game's like $5 or it's free, pick it up. But for the people who are giving it a perfect 10, come on, man, come on, man, just stop, man. You ain't got to be that way. Don't be a scumbag. You know better than that. Don't do that, dude. Just don't. All right, let's go ahead and move on here. Well, let me move on. Hello, can you let me move on, please? And of course, it wants to give me trouble. All right, there we go. Stop giving me trouble, man. Stupid. All right, here. I was able to get out of there. Yes, I was. All right, so we are back. I hate when it gives me issues from time to time. Tricky's probably listening to this like, haha, your computer failed you. I don't like you, Tricky. I have a cheap, cheap ass computer. I have a computer that is probably like a $300 Chromebook, which it is a $300 Chromebook. Uh, so yeah, I work with smoke and mirrors, homie, but I still try to get it done. Sometimes it turns out great. Sometimes I have issues. This is how it is. And sometimes I go back through and edit it on YouTube when it gets put out to Spotify. But with that said, I'm always very thankful. So, with mixtape, and I'll say it one more time. The problem with mixtape is that too many people have member berries that didn't actually live the '90s, and if they did live the '90s, they lived it as a very small child. They didn't get to experience all the different music, and like I said, the last golden years of music perfection, where you had every genre like just pumping on all wheels. You had R&B pumping great. You had everything else just going crazy and doing unbelievably well when it came to music. Every genre you could think of was just killing it constantly. So that's the reason why the '90s were so special. Now, what am I currently playing? Ladies and gentlemen, I am currently playing Wu Chang Black Feathers. Uh, I have basically taken a break from Ghost of UK's multiplayer legends because my characters are built up. There's really nothing more I can do other than play raid or play other things and unlock other things. And again, well, if your character is as badass as it can be, what's the point? Move on, And I got two characters maxed out to the highest they can be, almost a level 100. And there's really no point to continue on unless something new comes out or adds some new maps or something. And I may play it once a week or something like that. But Black Myth Wu Chang, of course, shout out to Will from PlayStation 8 Dead. I am still playing what Will consider my favorite game, Infinity Nikki, because I have to do daily challenges in order to get crystals to get pretty dresses. Yeah, and I'm okay with that, Will. Just FYI. Um, so that is currently what I'm playing, and of course I'm playing NCAA college football. But let me get on to do an apology here to one of my friends, and that is Sean from Games Ain't Dead. Let's go over here to his channel here and take a look. And I left in his bio or in the bios of the show. So when you go to YouTube or you go to any place to watch or listen to the show, you can see the bios for his shows. And let me just say, Sean is putting out amazing content, and this is Ain't Dead Games. And I keep putting in, as you notice, I even put in there, Games Ain't Dead. No, that is incorrect. It is Ain't Dead Games. And this is my favorite one that he's done. He's done so many great ones and putting out super great content, but this is my favorite. So let's watch this, ladies and gentlemen. On it. I don't think I do.
All right, Germany, you got a lot of explaining to do. Based on our information, your country is the sole reason for all the goddamn shovelware on the PS5.
What do you mean? Das good games.
Don't sit there and act dumb. You know exactly what I'm talking about. This slop. We all know that your country hands out grants for video game development, but how can you call these games? This is slop. This is crap. This is all made by...
And I feel disappointed in the Germans that they would allow slop to come out, because usually put out such amazing and good quality content. So for them to put out that slop is kind of makes me mad, man. I wish they would do such a better job. But no, let's continue watching this. But I love this video.
Made by somebody named Mark Technique. Where is this company located? We need to find the bases right now and take them out.
These games are #1 for the German people.
Sven Dershkanolke! 3-in-1 board games, one of them being...
I love that he has the cigarette. He's doing all the stuff for as a detective. With the German, you should actually just did a little investigation on a couple German words, or you could have talked to me. I would have helped you out on a few things. And then, like we were talking about the sexy game, you could have said, "No, nein, it's just a geile Sau." Geily means like horny or like cool. Depends upon like how you use it and what dialect and where you are in Germany. But most of the time, geile Sau is like horny pig, because Sau is pig. So it's like for the one sexy one, you could have said that. But let's continue on here.
Being named Dog! Schlag de Star! I don't see Hasselhoff in this one! 3 BB and Tina games! A bunch of Call of Duty ripoffs! What is this crap?
Das German quality!
You're destroying a whole generation with this slop!
Instead of saying it's German quality, you should have said Deutschland, das du gut, or Dutchy Fani, like not #1, So, but I know you never been to Germany, and you didn't live there for many years ago to German schools. So that's a little different. But no, this is quality content from Sean from Ain't Dead Games, and of course PlayStation Ain't Dead. And shout out to Will again for correcting me on the namesake. And I should probably change that up to what the thing is. But all his content, if you are a collector, like...
Did you know that in 1993, Nintendo released a Star Fox Game Watch made by Nelsonic? It was a wearable LCD game that you could get by buying 2 boxes of Kellogg's Corn Flakes and sending the form back in to get a free watch. It's a 4-level, 2.5D scrolling shooter where players could... Mario 64, get out of here. Crash Bandicoot, who needs this crap? Let's talk about the unsung hero of the 3D. Did you know that in 1987, Namco released a Japanese-only version of Star Wars for the Nintendo Famicom? Proving that Japan had never seen the movie at all. With Xenocrisis was released in 2021 for the Neo Geo AES and MVS. Space Station Silicon Valley is a 1998 3D puzzle platformer developed by DM. Blasto is a 1998 PlayStation 1 game and is a third-person shooter.
Now, I just wanted to show you a little bit of Sean's content, and if y'all haven't given him a like or a follow, please give him a like, follow, and encourage him to continue to make good content, to make good scripts, and to keep up the high energy. The guy is just a genius sometimes. I wish him and me would just do a channel where we talk about music in general, or punk music, or just any type of music where it's just like different riffs and then like how these riffs made you feel. But that would require way too much time. And I'm sure there's already somebody out there just doing that type of stuff. But the guy's a music savant, very smart individual. So shout out to Sean from from Ain't Dead Games, and of course PlayStation Ain't Dead. If you, like I said, if you like some of the content that I showed from him, definitely go give him a like and follow. And if you like the content that I put out as well, sharing with my friends here, definitely give me a like, share, a follow, and continue doing your thing. Now, I would like to say, before I get out of here today, if you get a chance and you haven't never listened to, I'm just talking about, since I mentioned music earlier, I will mention my own music. Uh, that would be Tommy Crawford at YouTube Music, Spotify, wherever. The newest single out is Mexico. It's about, hey, I've been with a couple of beautiful, beautiful senoritas in my time in Texas, where I'm originally from. I'm from Houston, Texas, and I've been to Mexico. I've been to Tijuana, once. I can't remember if I was in St. Lucas or not, but I know I was there at least once. And I think it's a beautiful song. So if you get a chance, check it out on Spotify, YouTube, and I'm not putting the link in for myself this week because someone said stop self promoting so much. So this is the only little self promotion you'll get for that. I actually have a channel ready to go that I've been doing content for that I haven't released to the general public until I think I get enough content to deal with that whole side, and then I'll stop mentioning it on the gaming side. But with that said, ladies and gentlemen, aliens, whatever you identify in this wonderful, beautiful world, thank you as always. If you listen, watch the show, please give it a like, share, a follow, tell your friends, homeless person, rather than giving them a quarter or, a couple of dollars to go get drunk, give them a link to the website. Give them a link to YouTube. Give them a link to Rumble, and have them listen to the show. And they'll say, "Man, that sounds like that dude's homeless. He possibly could be someday." But when people ask me how I'm doing, I'm like working to keep the homeless off the street. It's just I think we're all working to keep the homeless off the street, meaning ourselves, because if we don't work, we'll be homeless. So, with that said, aliens, whatever you identify in this wonderful, beautiful world, Tricky Mick for coming in early on in the show and telling me I don't give him a shout out or anything like that. We love you. I want you to go back to doing your show. I want you to learn how to use some tools because you're a smart guy. You have some really good takes when you want to, and you have that passion and energy for it. And I understand life gets busy, brother, and things you got going on there currently in New York. So keep hope alive. And thank you as always, ladies and gentlemen. Peace out.